link. Thank you. We'll get recorded now and share later. The next slide just jumps us into our opening activity. So if you had shared with us something that's stuck on your mind, we're hoping you might also have something stuck in your mind of a more positive interaction you've had. We want to see how people have felt connected or participated with OregonASK. We have worked hard to build partnerships, but one of the other things we do is legislative advocacy, informing people, sharing professional development, and that's a pretty broad range of opportunities for connection. So we just want to take a few minutes and hear from, if you don't mind sharing, you can share in the chat box, but we also have a Jamboard. And I'll drop that again if we need, but you should be able to access the Jamboard and start adding sticky notes. If you've not used Jamboard before, there's a left side toolbar where you can select the little square with writing on it for your adding a sticky note.
And part of the reason for asking this of everyone is the method to our madness is that we're in the process of building our next 3-year plan with you. And we have to report to the Mott Foundation, which in part funds our work. And so we want to talk about some of the good things that have happened, because we know there have been many.
And Katie's going to pull it up for us to take a look at. If you see something on here that you have also participated in, feel free to add a +1 or a ditto, yes, me too. And you're more than welcome to include a reference to yourself or anything like that, or keep it anonymous. But hope that we start to see our different connections here, our web grow.
And some other examples might be also, have you participated in any of our surveys, had any individual conversations or group conversations with OregonASK, sharing your summer story or other stories, getting resources off the website. What else?
I like what I'm seeing so far. Enthusiastic participant in the trainings. That's exciting. Glad you've enjoyed. Attended and presented as a panelist for OregonASK conference. Thank you, thank you. I think that is one of the things we try and be very mindful of, including programs whenever possible, as far as you are the voices of what's happening. So it's always a great opportunity when our conference comes up to include some extra presenters and help incorporate that, what we're doing. Because can be a bit of an ask to have someone ongoing, but right, that once a year, it's a special opportunity. And attending our partner meetings. Yes, thank you. I'm glad someone put surveys in summer. So we'll have a little bit of update from Katie here next, but yes, the impact that we've been able to collect and stories from programs about summer. We'll even get to see a sneak preview of one of our summer videos later, which I hope y'all are excited. We're so happy to have been hosted by a number of programs across the state, including trips down to Douglas County and from up to Portland and Salem. So hopefully you'll enjoy seeing some different summer fun. Committee participation, thank you. Anyone else feel free to unmute so it's not just my voice. And if you're new, like Maggie's your first time here, you get to say you're partner meeting attendant now. Welcome aboard. And I think, well, I see just a couple popping in here, but like Beth said, there is usually always a method to any madness you experience in our partner meetings, that we want to see how people interact, but we also take this as an opportunity for growth, for how else do we need to be connected and going forward. So that'll be some of the breakout discussions, right? Coming up is, you've been connecting and you've had experiences, but we want to know what works and what doesn't, and how can we grow to see some really big impacts continuing for the future. So excited to see as people have changed positions or been growing in the partnerships that we've had. Ooh, school age rules. Wonderful. See, that'll come up later for updates as well, I think. And if you didn't see, there was a email sent that had some other project updates from OregonASK, as well as the agenda. So I'll make sure to put in the chat box for anyone who wants to take a look. That has a few more of what's been going on with our own work that we're not necessarily going to share each individually throughout. But Beth, did you have any more you want to?
I would just say there's a lot of behind the scenes work that has gone on over the fall that we hope to sort of reap from what we have sown in this last 6 months. And so the new year is going to hold a lot of opportunities for school age programs across the state.
And the other thing I was gonna mention here while we're doing kind of opening and how you got involved, and I mentioned our conference. We had a virtual conference this last month. Thank you for everyone who joined us. I'll also give a shout out to Sean from Portland Jewish Academy, who won the drawing to a free NAA conference. So we hope it'll be great to have an Oregon person there representing. And if you didn't get a chance to look, maybe you were kind of busy, or maybe you were sick like some of us this last month, you can check out the website that has more information about the sessions that were offered, and let me know if you've got questions.
And isn't there our keynote? There's a video of the keynote.
Yeah, so we'll have recordings that we can share out. Particularly, we had an amazing keynote come and join us. Dr. Bianca Baldridge spoke about, she has a book on reclaiming community, but kind of anti-racist strategies and the field of youth development. And then we had a youth panel to end our day one, and we had a great speaker from Oregon represent, who's attended Self-Enhancement Inc. in the past and participated with an organization called Hopscotch Foundation in Portland doing urban farming. So we'll have some of those to share out soon. Any other questions, Beth, or anyone else have thoughts, comments, questions on? I think a pretty good list of how people have connected. Glad to see there's lots of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Katie, you can probably go back to the slides. And the next one actually is I get to, I think, hand off to you for more about summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks, Bethany. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Lakey. I'm the research manager at OregonASK, and I'm going to share a little bit of an update on our work on the reporting for the Oregon Community Summer Grants Initiative. So as part of the 2022 Oregon Summer Community Grants Initiative, Region 16 Comprehensive Center, on behalf of the Oregon Department of Education and in partnership with the Oregon Association of Education Service Districts, hired us at OregonASK as a consultancy group to support reporting on the summer community grants. So the broad purposes of this reporting work were to gauge the impact of the summer community grants, and then to document the successes, the challenges, and the lessons learned. And we also want to make sure that we're celebrating and uplifting all of the amazing opportunities that were created with these funds and demonstrating that this money made a huge impact for Oregon's youth. And we also want to make sure this report is a platform to talk about barriers and challenges that folks encountered along the way and to present lessons learned and recommendations for the future. So a quick overview of the Summer Community Grants Initiative. This funding was allocated for a second year from the Oregon legislature. It was $50 million that was given to the Oregon Association of Education Service Districts to manage the distribution of those funds out to community-based organizations across the state running summer programming. So in total, 377 grant awards were made for a total of just over $47.5 million. And the median grant award was about $93,000. And these grants enabled organizations to offer more than 6,000 program opportunities to nearly 240,000 youth across the state. So for our work,
let's take a moment there and say, wow, that's a huge win for after school and summer, to actually be able to provide so much programming for young people.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Beth. It really is incredible. For 2 years now, we've had this opportunity for kiddos. So for our reporting work on this initiative, we conducted 5 English language and 1 Spanish language focus group with grantees to hear about their experiences, their successes, and their recommendations for the future. We also cleaned and analyzed data from grant applications and from the required reporting form, and we collected stories, experiences, and evidence of impact through other feedback mechanisms as well, including an asynchronous youth feedback platform. So we are currently in the final stages of producing 3 main components for this reporting work, which will include first a resource and impact portfolio that's going to showcase documents, resources, materials created with these funds. And it also will serve as a resource bank for summer learning programs in the future. We're also producing about 20 short impact stories that highlight individual organizations and their impact within their communities. And finally, we will be producing a comprehensive final report. And that final report will demonstrate the tremendous reach and impact of these grants, while also exploring the challenges and barriers throughout the process, and then proposing lessons learned and recommendations for the future. Discussion of impact and reach is going to mostly focus on 2 main themes that we've seen, which are the benefits that these grants brought to the youth and their families, as well as the impacts on the grantee organizations themselves and the staff who work for them. Then the main challenges that surfaced throughout this summer included staffing woes, struggling to recruit and engage youth and families, and finally barriers that were created by the grant process itself, most notably the condensed timeline, reporting obligations, and then of course the insurance requirements. And finally, I wanted to give a quick preview of the recommendations that we're planning to make at the end of this report. These are still draft, we're not quite finalized, but as we have them now, we are going to recommend that the provision of consistent, sustainable funding for similar grants in future years, while making sure that these grant funds, if they're available in future years, will be available earlier in the year to allow more time for planning. The creation of more formalized grant processes that include streamlined systems for application, communications, and reporting. Easing the burden of insurance requirements, that's a big issue. And there will be more discussion and thought on that at the state level, but we're going to include more information about that in our report and some thoughts and some suggestions for what that can look like in the future. And then finally, the provision of support and resources to build capacity within summer programs themselves. So that's, I think, just a quick overview and preview of what we're planning to put out in this report. Does anyone from our team have anything to add to that I left out?
Well, we have wonderful summer video and some little short clips. And we'll be working through the month of December and early January on some policy papers and a timeline and some discussions with legislature.
And I think just to reiterate, in case this wasn't abundantly clear earlier, this contracted work with Region 16 Comprehensive Center and Oregon Association of ESDs under Oregon Department of Education is the set work to respond to share what was done this summer. So that's very much kind of a pass through of collecting the data and collecting feedback and sharing that. So while these recommendations would probably line up well with what OregonASK feels on the other side, this is really a representation of what people said, right? What we heard from the field of 367 respondents to say, this is what would make the best difference for us. So I'll then, while simultaneously, OregonASK works with funded or unfunded and state agency partners in other ways. So in other advocacy efforts and informing. So while this has been informed by the participants and grantees, then I think the next kind of slide and piece is around the work that OregonASK does as an organization ourselves with partners. So, and Beth, do you want to share a little?
Yeah, and so the Summer Learning Collaborative was in part funded. So a facilitator was funded by the Mott Foundation to gain some momentum with the Department of Ed. And there is a small leadership team, and it's growing. So we have once a month conversations and really talking about what would the collaborative do and look like, and what's our vision for this 2 or 3 years from now, and the continuation of the funding. And there was something else that went through my mind, but the Summer Learning Collaborative will be ongoing. Oh, so the other thing that we are planning on doing is we are planning on having a legislative roundtable and a release event, and everyone who participated in the summer funding will get invited to the release event. And then the roundtable, we're going to invite some programs to come and talk directly to some legislators about the effects of this funding stream. This Thursday, there is a preliminary conversation with Senate Education. So I'll be attending with ODE and Department of Ed and OESD. So that and policy papers. We hope to have frequently asked questions and help people who receive these funds advocate for more funds.
So if you would like to join in the collaborative, there is a sign up, and I put in the chat box as well the kind of introduction one-pager about the work so far, and like Beth said, kind of building that collaborative vision. So I'll add the sign up if anyone hasn't signed up yet. And the next, keeping in our summer thread piece, is going to be a preview of our video. So this is a draft. We have we actually already have updates in the making, but we're going to share with you this version. technology doesn't seem to be on our side necessarily, so we're going to share a link so you all can view it. It's about 4 minutes. So we're going to let you kind of watch it on your own screen at whatever volume you can hear without skipping, hopefully. And we'll then come back in about 4 minutes. Does anyone have questions? Or if you need other accessibility, it is not fully accessible yet. The opening slides you have to read. It's not read to you. That is an update that's coming soon, but I think Katie shared with me, and I'll share with everyone the link to the video. So please take a few minutes. I think it's a good story.
It's the only break you're going to get.
Welcome back. I realize there's 3 minutes of quiet silence in there, but I hope you enjoyed the video, and hope that it helped get a little inspired. So I guess that's where I always just love hearing, right, from kids from in the program. And we want to now kind of dream big. So the next piece of the agenda today is spending time looking ahead, envisioning what kind of impact do we want to see in Oregon? What can we as a network do together? So we're going to have 3 different rooms. You get to choose, I think, or should we choose? We'll choose kind of which room. Make sure
you can
we have
choose which
somebody
room,
in every.
Bethany. They'll be
Thank
able
you.
to
Thank you,
choose
Stephanie.
their own room if you know how. And if you don't, feel free to either drop in the chat which room you'd like to join, or just come off mute and share with me and I'll put you in that room. So you have multiple choices, but if you don't know how, just reach out and we'll make sure you get there.
Thank you. And the kind of discussion prompts they're also going to be listed on another Jamboard slide. So within each of the rooms, kind of taking the lens of, are we talking about whole child? Are we talking about authentic youth engagement? Are we talking about kind of some of those future career oriented pieces? And then we will have a Jamboard slide for each room for you to kind of put some ideas and discuss together. Once we join breakout rooms, make sure we do some introductions, get to know who's in your space, and then start imagining. I think part of the hope is that when you think about after school and summer space and expanded learning 3 years from now, or 4 years or 8 years from now, what do you see? What do you imagine it could be like? What would youth get to experience? What would the opportunity be? And hopefully that summer video gave you a little inspiration for what could we do? How could we get there? Are there any questions before we let you break up into your rooms and start discussing together? There are prompts in the chat box. There is a slide, Katie, if you want to go ahead.
Bethany,
read
is
through it.
there anything that you want to clarify about youth engagement? What kinds of examples or anything?
Thanks. Great question, Monica. So this one kind of around youth voice and identity. We had a great session at the conference that Rachel facilitated around, how do you build youth engagement into your program? What does that look like? How do you help elevate voice? And as a network, I think we see the potential with so many disengaged youth. After school and summer programs are a really natural fit to help elevate youth engagement. So how do we do that in a way that helps youth and helps programs, right? So that programs can feel stronger and more equipped because youth are very engaged and they are kind of at the center, right, of the work that we do. So that one I think is like towards you. How might you really engage youth? What would that vision be? While some of the others are more around like the program pieces that do this.
And Monica, this is Beth, and I'll join you in that session. So I'm going to join youth engagement.
All right. I think if you haven't joined yet, join. I'm going to join one.
All back. And so to my group, if you want to meet again, let Rachel know, and we could continue the conversation on youth voice.
Yeah, and Beth, since on that note, maybe you want to share some highlights from our conversation, since I think that's what happens next. Is that right, Bethany? Beth was on a roll as we were leaving her.
Well, every time somebody said something, I thought, oh, well, that connects to this.
Yeah.
And I shared that I participated in the progress markers for ODE earlier this morning, and I could see 3 or 4 places where after school and summer could make a big difference. And then asking questions. So we had, questions about what people were currently doing, but then what's the vision for the future? And we just barely scraped the surface of what we might be able to do. So.
Yeah, I've left my email right in the chat for anybody that wants to reach out and say that you'd love to see that.
Thanks, Rachel. And yes, the idea was that we could come back and hear a little of were there themes besides your session title that really resonated in your room. And I don't know if anyone from our room wants to share, but I really appreciated that within the room we had on Whole Child, we got to talk a lot about normalizing accessibility, and making that part of what every program can offer is a space so that you can't separate a child. Their behavior might be because they are hungry, and it might be because they have other social emotional needs and they need to breathe or they need space, but just having more resources and lots of opportunity for people to understand what would it look like for the space to really be accessible, because everyone would benefit and grow together. So I really appreciate that from my room, and feel free if there's something else that people heard to share.
Bethany, I wasn't in your room, but we had this conversation recently with the RAP grant, talking about this directory of STEM, including the arts programming that's out there. And I brought up, I said, wouldn't it be great if organizations, programs could, like, have that notification, like checkbox, if you will, that they know how to handle like neurodiversity and can, not only that, like everybody's accepted, but as a parent of a neurodiverse kiddo, I don't know how many times that like we sent her to something when she was younger and we got a call, by mid-afternoon, come pick her up because she's melting down and we don't know how to handle her. And I know Beth and I have talked a lot about that with trainings, and you guys offer some awesome stuff that I've shared throughout the STEM Health Network, but it's just,
Well,
you made me think of that. Thank you. Sorry, I just wanted to share that, but anyway.
Yeah, and there was a couple pieces I think that resonated in our conversation is what I think Christy speaks to about youth are really good at actually doing that if you give them a chance. So making sure your program doesn't not allow kids to interact with one another and be that support, and that every adult probably needs a little self-regulation and understanding themselves of how they operate and what that means for them. And then they can do a better job helping youth with that. So it's almost like this professional development I sit in helps sometimes. It absorbs it and it makes sense. So Monica, did you want to share from your room anything else that came up?
We didn't quite get as far as all the big picture thinking stuff, but we had two people from representing Outdoor School and a couple of people doing innovation, STEM, and youth training programs. And I think we we're mostly focusing on kind of high school students and how they can get more experience in leadership, career exploration, training, and career connected learning, work experience. And we could have gone on to talk about some really cool stuff, but we were yanked back into the main session. If anybody from my group wants to add anything.
Thanks, Monica. And yes, I felt like we could have kept talking for a while longer, but I do hope this was a good conversation starting, that this is the process we want to go through and hear what can we imagine together, and then how can we build that together? How can we get there? And it sounds like there's still certainly room for more conversation and growth, but that's what we have the next several months to do. We will be writing our strategic plan, our 3-year grant this spring. And I think there is time, I think, to have more of this conversation and look at what that would mean to have really accessible materials for people and training, and to include youth in building accessible programs, and to elevate voice that helps youth and adults see the future and connect to one another. So I hear so much opportunity. Beth, you look like you wanted to share more too. You're muted. We can't hear you.
So I would say it's up to us. You know, we decide our own futures and we decide them together. You know, if we, like we've siloed for so long as organizations, and it's time. I mean, we're at a really critical moment of time where we have this huge opportunity ahead of us to help build a better, you know, I'm the better Oregon person, you know, better lives of that, and communities that are thriving. I always say this to the national groups that I'm on, you know, we're lucky, we're Oregon, because we are small in many ways in comparison to many other states that are struggling with similar kinds of issues. I mean, we actually are having authentic, real dialogue, and in that can make a difference. So we're going to build a better future with kids, not to them, for them.
Yes. And that's kind of part of our summer video was entitled In Their Own Voice. And that was part of our vision the last couple years, is we wanted to hear from youth, from communities on the ground. What is it you feel and see, and what makes the difference? This is a tumultuous time for everyone. It is hard doing work, being sick. I don't know if anyone else was sick this month, but there was a few illnesses that waved through. But the opportunity together to grow and to have youth really engaged in lots of different ways, because it looks different, right? It might be that they do love their school and they absolutely want to be an astronaut, and they're going to be an astronaut. And that's amazing to get to see that pathway. And there is an opportunity to just have youth have a safe place where they are connected. And I loved Shaylee shared in our group, I'm gonna put it out there, there's this great TED Talk that talks about what it means to thrive. So thinking of a child that thrives and has at least 3 adults that know what their spark is. And that, I think, is like our network, right? Is like, we want to thrive. We want everyone to know what's the spark. We want to make sure every youth has another someone that knows what's going to get them to their next thing. And that we can help that, right? Whether it be you in your program or you know the next step in their path.
Yeah, and I honestly believe that we can find ways to partner, and that everyone can win. It doesn't have to be a win-lose. Everyone can win if we learn how to build authentic partnerships with real conversation. We all want the same thing. Better lives for kids and their families and our communities that we live in. So, yeah, so do we have some final things, Bethany? I think we do.
We do. We have a couple more things we wanted to share. Monica is going to give a brief, I almost said pitch. I don't know if pitch is right. Talking about entrepreneurship, and a few highlights before we kind of wrap up.
Kind of like a pitch, because I want people to do more youth entrepreneurial skills and mindset learning in all the programs. We have a lot of resources to support that, even if it's just inserting little games, activities, even just phrases or examples of entrepreneurial skills in when you're doing STEM activities or art activities or any other kind of outdoor skills activities with kids, obviously employability skills programs and things like that. We have a lot of resources now for people to help integrate entrepreneurial skills and mindsets into existing youth programs. We have a pilot program currently through Venture Lab that provides free access to some of their usually paid programs for running full youth entrepreneurship programs. One of them is called Idea to Pitch, where you take kids from coming up with an idea for a business or service, integrating a lot of entrepreneurial skills and mindsets, and going all the way up to a business plan and then a pitch event where people come and they watch the kids pitch their ideas, and it's really cool. In fact, we're having a 2-hour professional development for that program next week. If anybody is interested in doing a idea to pitch program with youth next winter, January through June, then contact me and you can sign up for that pilot program. We also have an entrepreneurial skills committee. And a lot of us who are maybe doing programs with design thinking, innovation, youth entrepreneurial skills in our programs, but it doesn't have to be. Maybe you're just interested in that, can join this committee so that we can talk about, oh yeah, we're focusing on kind of culturally relevant resources for these types of students. We would like more agriculture related resources. We are doing a mobile classroom. We're doing this and that. And how can we help each other to do those things to integrate more entrepreneurial skills and mindset into programs all around the state for every age. So it's exciting.
Thanks, Monica. And she has no shortage of flyers or links if you need them. But you are welcome to just reach out to monica.mcqueen@OregonASK.org. I also want to give a quick highlight to Rachel and our Arts Now, and if you want to share that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. And yeah, on the theme of youth agency, we also have a couple of other cool opportunities coming up. One is with Arts Now, which we've spoken to this group about a couple of times, but we're in our 3rd cohort. We will be offering training sessions around it January 9th, and I will go ahead and add these to the chat. But we are excited to be sharing free process-based arts curriculum that goes along with the training and some additional coaching, so support to offer process-based art, but youth voice emphasizing projects, which cover sort of all the arts métier. So you can choose what you do from the curriculum, but you'll be offered 4 parts, which include both visual arts and sound and performance and other areas of artistic exploration. So we'd love for you to join. I'm going to be sharing the description and the registration link for that. So please do look at the registration link for a little more information. And then we will also have an opportunity we're really excited about from PAIR. PAIR is, let me see, Partnership in Education and Resilience. And they are going to be offering youth mental health or addressing the youth mental health crisis and disruptive behavior, which is a series. And so they're facilitating, but it's a series that is being offered through OregonASK. There are 3 dates for it. It's starting January 19th. Also January 26th and February 2nd. And they're 2-hour sessions. There are 3 of them. And I will include the link for more information in the chat for that as well.
And this is the first group, so the first 3 2-hour sessions, and then there will be 2 others. One is another 3 hours, and then there'll be another 3 days, and then another 4 days. So throughout the spring, we have worked with them in a variety of ways with some of the STEM work they've done, but in talking with Gil Nome at the National Summer Learning, when I saw this work, I thought, this is something that Oregon really needs, and it's a way in which we can support programs. So we'll try it, see if people come and have dialogue around what we need.
Thanks,
And there's the
Jennifer.
flyer, and Kelsey, can you put the flyer in the, and the registration's up online already?
You can use that link in the chat right now to learn
Okay,
more.
great.
I was also going to add, this is like a surprise curveball in here. I was going to ask Karen, would you be willing to share like a quick snippet? Several of our partners are not here today because they're at youth development community conversations. So there's been funding and they're doing a series of community conversations. And I was like, Karen had a youth development grant, didn't you? And
To talk about which grant, Bethany?
their youth development division, and
Youth
you were
development,
going
sure.
yeah.
This was our we called it the lifeguard first aid first responder training. It was a program through Oregon YDD. We got it. It's a 2-year grant. The goal was to help enable small rural communities to build their own lifeguards, swim instructors, staff for their pools, which are an economic engine for these small communities. In the summer months, this is where people gather. And so, working with the Blue Mountain Community College, we were able, and the high school, and the granting agency, we were able to put together a wonderful program where we went in. Well, I taught first aid, CPR, and lifeguard training to high school students. Anyone was eligible. It was part of a high school program. The students received high school credits from the school, as well as Blue Mountain Community College, 5 credits for first responder, medical responder type of training. And then anyone who graduated from the program, completed the program, and wanted to have summer jobs at either the Milton Free Water or Athena pools were guaranteed a summer job. 22 students successfully passed this training. This was American Red Cross training. So this was a little bit of an interesting program because it was in the school district, and the kids, if they didn't show up, they didn't pass. And so it was sort of a tough love program in that regard. But there were 23 kids signed up, 22 finished. 12 were given jobs in Milton Free Water and Athena this summer. We're going in for a second year. This year, our goal is under the grant to teach the staff, the teachers themselves who are interested, or the administrators, to be able to carry forward this program after the grant ends and continue to bridge these high school students into community college first aid, first responder type of training.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Karen. I just love the story. I love what you built because it's kind of like a little bit of everything. You've got pools, you've got community college, you've got high school, you've got the YMCA there, and you've got kids, and you're giving them real skills and jobs. And it was like, that is what I imagine when people are like, what can we do with workforce development? And like, this is what you can do. So I just wanted to make sure that was on record.
What we learned about this is we, like idiots, we went in thinking, oh, this is great. The kids will have their ability to get to the pools. We forgot completely about transportation. And as the summer rolled on, we ended up getting some of the kids bikes, so because they were walking 4 miles to the job. So how do we transport these kids? And we're very mindful, of course, of older people working with younger people. Many of these students were as young as 14, and in the States, you can be 14, 15 to be a swim instructor. And so we had to be very thoughtful about how were we transporting these youth into the program. But they wanted the jobs. In many cases, these jobs were the income for their families.
Thanks, Karen. And y'all can reach out if you have other questions. I just thought worth kind of ending on a high note, from the field, what is built with partnership and determination, and it's possible. So our last slide is just kind of a nod to, if you haven't felt connected, or if you heard something today that you want to get more connected with, make sure that there are opportunities to join in the conversation. We do have our equitable STEM and CTE that meets every other month. And then we have this governance and development kind of work group, and that's is the planning, strategic planning, and Beth is spearheading that effort. Make sure you reach out to her. Monica is also doing youth entrepreneurship, and Stephanie is continuing with quality. So I think I also heard there might be a youth engagement conversation continuing, and our work certainly around equity and quality and whole child, and that will continue. So other questions, comments? And I don't know, I don't think we heard enough other voices, but hopefully your breakout rooms were as dynamic as mine was.
And I want to say congratulations to Julia, so longtime friend of STEM and CTE with the network, and then now the new STEM Hub Director for South Metro STEM. So congratulations to you. And yeah, there are a lot of changes. We've been noticing that people are moving jobs and changing. So I just received 2 today. So, 2 more of people who are moving to their new jobs. So, and it all is in the same community. So you might change your hat, but you're still in the same community, and really appreciate it. And I'd love to have a conversation with you, Julia, and see if there's anything that our Million Girl Moonshot and other work that we're doing can help.
And we have a whole minute to spare. Look at us. Okay. We will share more flyers, updates. You'll see final drafts of the video coming out. And we hope to see you for our summer report release kind of out in January.
We'll be setting those dates and sending them out before Christmas.
And sorry we couldn't come to your place, Tony. We're going to keep you on the docket.
Well, saves us from having to clean. That's really it.
Like any true holiday, just
exactly. No, we are doing our family holiday party December 10th. So if you do want to still come and do archery and have a cookie contest and an ugly sweater contest, you are welcome to come. It's open to the public. But you have to have an ugly sweater.
Ugly sweater is required. Okay, we will.
Holiday sweater.
Yes, Jeffrey, we'll make sure and share our slides and any announcements. And really appreciate everyone contributing to the conversation today.
And everyone coming and participating. And we really wish you a happy holidays. We actually take 2 weeks off. So OregonASK will be quiet for the last 2 weeks of December. So we push ourselves so that we get there, and then we stop. We get revved up for the next 6 months.
But planning for another in-person meeting conference coming up in the spring.
Yes, we are.
With lots
I
of
keep
ideas.
hearing from people, when's our next conference?
It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming. All right.
And, I do want to say thank you for anyone new, and wonderful to meet and see, and next time in person, I hope someday.
Thanks. Bye.
Could I chat for a second with OregonASK if you can stay on for a second?
Sure.
I just wanted to share feedback because we had, and I don't know if it's useful at all, but we reached out to 4 of the community-based organization partners: Cairo, Girls Inc., Feed the Mass, and Building Blocks of Success over the last couple of months, just trying to get a sense of what is their schedule around planning for, winter, fall, summer events, spring, summer. And basically for the PMSP grant, what we ran into is no one partner can source 45 students and guarantee 35 to 40 hours of computer science education classes. So Girls Inc. had the most because they have a very, like robust program and many opportunities, and they had the staff infrastructure for it. But at best, they could get 15 to 30, right? So as soon as we tried to figure out what we could do and just what budget was possible, the more their youth are dispersed, the harder it is to keep the budget efficient, right? So we were planning one budget in which we did 6 camps, 2 for 3 partners, which left nothing. Like we basically paid our staff and it doesn't cover anything else, right? So we're not applying for the grant. One of the questions,
You're talking about the computer science grant.
yeah, the CS for All, 5 million that came through the hubs.
Mhm.
So I just thought you might be interested in that data point, to the partners. We're just like, we don't have staff capacity. We'd love to do something with you, but we're gonna have to hold off a commitment because we have to wait until we get into planning for
Mhm.
the next cycle or when they're thinking about summer. So yeah, it shows some of the limits of trying to manage the geographic dispersion even within Multnomah County. And I don't know how successful it would have been if we had tried to centralize to one spot or 2 spots. Yeah, so that's all. Thanks for the
That's
time.
interesting. Hey, thanks, Jeffrey. I'm reading the STEM ESSER
Yeah.
grant from all of the hubs, so it's interesting.
Okay. Well, have a great holiday time.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Bye. Okay, we've got Annabelle still on here. Is she? Are you really here, Annabelle?
Yeah, mostly because I was driving and I didn't want to be fondling the phone. But yes, good to see Bethany. Good to hear that you seem to be doing better. I am interested in student engagement. However, there may be some changes coming up. I don't want to speak ahead of time any official announcements, but there may be some changes. But anything and whatever I end up doing, definitely.
So
enjoy and
changes
look
in
forward
your
to.
employment?
Yes, so there's I know that there's an internal position open, and while I'm considering applying because I like working with the people and want to work more again directly with the residents, they still contact me because of the relationships we have, even though it's not necessarily my role anymore. But if not, I'm trying to at least seek some certain experience as far as developing certain skill sets and trying to see what my next thing will be.
Yeah, well, love to have a conversation about that with you. See if there are things that we can do. We actually brought on somebody who lives in Southern Oregon who's working part-time for us, came out of a program at Cow Creek. So
yeah, I love coffee. I know you're
I love coffee
a little bit
too.
further away.
No, I'll come to Woodburn for coffee.
Oh, that's great. I know everybody else is hearing now.
Let's go to the mayor's coffee shop. Okay.
You know, I had not been here in about a couple of weeks. I had gotten the flu and then I was off on vacation Thanksgiving time, and I had not been here for about a couple of weeks. And so yesterday I came by and I was received with an applause from both the mayor and the other staff people they have. Yes, I feel I'm a favorite one there. But yeah, that'll work. Let me know and we can schedule something.
I'll send you an email.
Sounds good.
Kids just got home
All
from
right.
school, sorry.
Oh, no worries. I had picked up
Very
mine
noisy
too.
here.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Okay, so we lost Bethany.